And the next one involves collars. So again, in the one pose, they like the position of the body, they like the way the feet are, they like the hair, the face. The only thing they don't like, well, the stylist kind of fell down on this one. This collar kind of stuck forward a bit, this collar kind of got wedged down underneath the hair. But in this image, well, they don't like the pose quite so much, they don't like the expression quite so much, but they like the collars. So your job is to grab the collars from this image and drop it in. So there's the original, there's the new lapels blended in, and I'll run through the process that I did for this. I'll just throw these out. And same sort of deal, I just grabbed the lasso tool, and again, grabbed more than I think I would need, copied it, pasted it in, dropped the opacity. Now, one of the problems we were battling here was the scale, and using, say, this button down here as a reference, I'll put that over top of itself. Look at that, look at how much higher her eye is, look how much higher the ear is. So I'm going to scale this down, Command T, and here's a neat trick, this little center of rotation. If I put that right on top of what I've aligned, and then I hold down Option, see how it scales around that center of rotation? Yeah, so that kind of makes things easier. So I know that button is in line. Once I've got her eyeball in line, I know we've got the scale pretty much exact. Now I can just click outside, rotate it in. Nice thing about the free transform, the Command T, is it combines both scale and rotate. And then I can bring that opacity back up, hide it with a layer mask, and bring it back hopefully just in the areas where I want it to be. Now I want to be careful that I get not just the new lapel added, but the old lapel covered up. And here's where there's a little bit of leeway. One of the things you don't want to do is change the style of the clothing. Like there's a certain distance between this button and this little pocket part here. The button has a certain distance. It's kind of in between the edges here. So in the last class, I actually found that I ended up keeping the corner of that pocket, but this time I found I didn't end up needing it. So again, each time you do it, it can even end up a little bit differently. And the tricky part here is getting this to line up without these little crossover edges here. Which one do you take? Well, with a small enough brush, you can just get the best of each. So there's that lapel coming down, and we keep the bottom part down there. So there's that lapel added in. A little bit of oddness on the side of her neck, but that's okay. Again, I guess just have to decide, do I get rid of that neck or do I keep it? I think in this case I'm going to keep it. This is the neck that came with the lapel. And on the other side, same deal. Grab the lasso, grab more than I think I need, copy it, paste it in, drop its opacity, swing her over. And again, let's deal with that scale issue. So this time I guess I'll use this button here as an alignment. Free transform, drop my center of rotation on top of it. And I can swing this down until the eyeball is the same height, and then rotate it into position. Hit return. Ooh, actually, no, we have a whole other issue here too. Take a look at this. The way this strap is facing, it's a different angle. Now, I'm going to try to get that end aligned as close as I can. And this is where I'm going to do the interface. I'm going to keep the strap from the original here. I'm going to bring in the lapel from the new, and I'm just going to cut it off at the edge of the strap, which means this is out of alignment, but that's okay. There was some twisting of the torso, whatever, she's out of alignment. As long as this is okay. All right, let's bring that opacity up, hide it with a layer mask, bring in a paintbrush, and we'll bring back the new lapel. And I'm going to bring it down to about here. And a couple of problems. First off is going over top of the strap. So I'll just take a smaller brush and I'll cut that off. And some of the original shirt, there's a different height here. So I'll just cut that off as well. Bit of a smaller brush. And this is where using an appropriate sized brush comes in. The edge of this lapel is a fairly hard edge. If I use too large of a brush, I'd end up with this really soft kind of ghostly transition. So by using a smaller brush, I can get right in there with the shift clicking technique. I can just cut that right off. And hopefully, okay, now one thing I am finding, This lapel is coming out a little bit bright compared to the other side of the shirt there. What could I do to darken down this lapel? What about curves? Curves or levels? Watch this. If I make an adjustment layer, let's say I throw on a curves, and I use that to darken, it darkened the lapel, but it darkened everything else too. What do I do about that? The clipping mask. Turn these into a clipping group. So with it clipped, it only affects that collar. So I can double click, I can play around with it, make it brighter, make it darker, whatever we need. And all in a nice non-destructive fashion. No pixels were harmed, they're all still there. They're just hidden with the layer mask, and it's not actually darkened, it's an adjustment layer. There's before and there's after.